Kevin, is an antenna. The broken one or the good one that I found on the side of the road? On Friday, August 25th, we got up at 5:30 in the morning, said goodbye to Newman, and headed towards Tom Price. We decided to shoot some Rio Tinto on the way over to Paraburdoo, so we turned right at the grade crossing at the Great Northern Highway on the line from Yandy-Kogina, and we caught a load headed north near Osprey. And so we chased the load out with pushers. And at the last location, we were going to shoot video. I turned the car off. And after the train went by, when I turned the car back on, every conceivable emergency warning light went off on the dash. Oh boy, we're deep in the Pilbara. But we had cell phone service, so I called the Hertz place in Karratha. And the gal that answered the phone said the guy I needed was busy and that he would email me. I thought, email me, how many days is that going to take? So in the meantime, I studied the map, put Mel behind the wheel, and at one point we started up a hill, and I told Mel, you know, there's no point in driving so slow, and he said, I've got it to the floor. So about 30 or 40 Ks an hour was all it would do. It was pretty pathetic. But anyway, we wound up driving to the airport at Paraburdoo, where there was a Hertz dealer, and they were able to swap out the car in no time flat. And of course, right before we turned into the airport, we swapped out the antenna with the one I had found on the road, and I stowed the broken one in my bag. So once in the new ute, we drove down to Paraburdoo, and there was a train loading there, which was really spectacular to watch. And then we chased it out of the mine up the grade toward Banksia, and that is a wonderful chase. Really lots of good scenery and easy to keep up with on the pusher grade. And we got into Tom Price Tourist Park, where we were staying, at 5:40. It closes at 6. And they put us in Hamersley Villa 1. So we were set for the evening, and we ate dinner in the villa with groceries we picked up in town. Right at dusk, we caught a train rolling across the crossing coming from the mine at Tom Price. So a pretty good day overall, even though it was a bit of an adventure with the ute. I think we were paying the piper for all those Pilbara miles that we'd put on that previous ute. So, and also the fact that we didn't have any flat tires. Maybe we were paying the piper for that too.
Yes. I figured it out.
And thanks for calling Toots.
On Saturday, August 26th, we started off in the Tom Price area. We knocked around there and couldn't find any action. I drove down to Paraburdoo, nothing there. Drove back to Tom Price and ultimately decided to head north. And we picked a spot north of Rosella. And we caught our first train at 11:24 in the morning, so it was a pretty slow morning. And we had lunch north of Rosella. So I noticed on this particular day, Mel was a little on the glum side, and I wasn't sure what was going on with him, but I could tell things weren't quite right. And I knew that he'd been wanting to get to Hamersley Gorge and in the national park there, and on the previous 2 trips, John and I had both nixed that. So with Lon's approval, we decided to spend part of the afternoon and go into Hamersley Gorge. So Mel looked at his phone, and it was going to be about a, 45-kilometer drive, and he said, "Oh, that's too far." And I said, "No, you've been wanting to do this for 3 consecutive trips. We're going to do it today." So into Hamersley Gorge we went, which was quite spectacular. And I found out the reason why Mel was so glum. This particular day would have been the birthday of his granddaughter, Sophia. And Mel and his wife had adopted their granddaughter, and she tragically died from SIDS as an infant, and that was a really difficult time in Mel's life. And then years later, my oldest daughter had a daughter that she named Sophia, and not knowing anything about Mel and Mel's Sophia. So we found ourselves in Hamersley Gorge on what would have been Mel's Sophia's birthday. And it was quite emotional. I told Mel at one point that the trip to Hamersley Gorge was for both of our Sophias. The one present and the one on the other side. And it was a tough moment. Saturday evening, we got intel that Lloyd Hutchins was going to be driving a northbound load out of Paraburdoo the next morning, so we got up early and drove down to Paraburdoo and caught the load leaving the mine and chased it up towards the big bridge at Banksia. And at one point, Lloyd dropped off the train and we got a chance to meet with him and visit for a little while. It was quite nice. And after that, we went up to Tom Price, and we caught loads leaving Tom Price and chased them up through Wombat Junction to Wombat Siding. And we knew there wasn't going to be a whole lot of action for the rest of the day, so we opted to take a trip up to the top of Mount Nameless, where you can really see the Tom Price mine. So that was another four-wheel drive adventure up the side of a mountain. And we met a couple up on top of the mountain and had a nice visit. So it was an enjoyable piece of an afternoon. And we ended the day north of Wombat, waiting for southbound empties at a nice location, but to no avail, no trains. And so we headed back to Hamersley Villa 1 at Tom Price Tourist Park and had dinner in the villa again. smooth video, Mel?
Yes, sir.
Oh, man.
It's getting smoother coming right up. Holy shnikes. Oh, man, that doesn't sound good.
That was just momentary loss of traction. Navigated like the professional that I are.
We're going to the top of Mount Nameless, high above Tom Price.
Going to be any faster going down, that's for sure.
No way.
Well, hopefully. If suddenly it is, we're in big trouble. Because we know how good these emergency brakes are. Monday, August 28th was our last full day in the Pilbara. So we left the Tom Price Tourist Park and drove north and thought we'd do some shooting around Pelican on Rio Tinto, which is a beautiful area. But again, we had all kinds of dust and truck traffic that made it less pleasurable than it had been in years past. So we were kind of debating what to do next, and we found a road that left the Rio Tinto line and headed west over towards Panawanica, Millstream Road. And so we thought, let's give Robe one more chance. So we drove over to the Robe River line, drove down towards Panawanica, and just about the time we got to the outskirts of the mining areas, here came a northbound load. So that was our morning chase. So we chased it up through Churty Pool. And that's just a spectacular chase on all fronts. It's beautiful scenery. It's a slow-moving train. And drove up to the Fortescue River bridge, figuring maybe we can get one last chance at that bridge. So we got to the bridge, and we had time to eat lunch, and a southbound empty went across the bridge, so we knew that our northbound was meeting him at Murray Camp. So we got set up, and it was probably 2:30 in the afternoon. Here came our train across the bridge, and we finally, on the last day of our third trip, got the shot at the Fortescue River Bridge. So we drove up to Kuyapuya Pass south of Harding, spent what was left of the afternoon on the big rock piles there, shooting trains coming around by the lake and Table Mesa in the background. And then for sunset, we drove up to Cape Lambert and shot the sun setting over the Indian Ocean, fitting end to our Pilbara adventure. And we shot a couple of shots off the bridge there at Cape Lambert before driving into Wickham and checking into our same Airbnb that we'd stayed at when we were there earlier, and got set for the next stage of our Australia adventure, which is narrow gauge iron ore operations out of Geraldton on the west coast at the Oasis, home of Liz and Lindsay Morrison. Among the things residing on my office wall is the broken antenna from the rental car from the Pilbara on our 2023 Australia trip. Thanks for watching.